Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol. Now I've been invited today to the Cotswolds by Audi UK to drive the brand new Audi Q5 Sportback. Now it's been a few years since I've driven a Q5, but that was actually the SQ5, and that was the normal shape and not the Sportback. So I've been looking forward to today to get my hands on the latest iteration of, well, one of the best-selling cars in this compact SUV segment, and Audi have done pretty well with this. I think it's the 5th or 6th best-selling car in their range. And I have to say, I think it's a handsome looking thing at first glance. I'll tell you more about the spec of this car as we go, but from the outside in this particular colourway, it does look nice. The grille at the front is quite big, but I think the way it's broken up with these nice kind of aluminium trim, it does look nice from the front. It's maybe a little bit bling for me, maybe a black pack, and just so that that grille kind of gets absorbed into the front of the car just a little bit, and I might favour this car a little bit more. Wheels are really nice. Let's walk around the back of the car. I don't have very long with it today, so it is going to be a bit of a gun and run review, but the back of the car, this Sportback shape that allows you to have the compact SUV with a more coupe styling, is becoming more and more popular. And the Sportback of the Q5 accounts for about 45% of sales, which I've found quite interesting. So let's take a wander around the back. Now I've driven a few of the Audi Sportback family, the e-tron Sportback, the SQ8, and I do actually prefer this kind of tapered off rear end to a normal, more squared off hatch. And I think the back of the new Q5 looks really smart. This isn't the high-end performance SQ5, so we don't have any exhaust exits at all, just trim. One of my biggest gripes about the old SQ5 was the fact that it just had fake exhausts. I believe that's fixed with the new SQ5 though. Really nice. I like details, the little kind of bit of aero, the spoiler there. It's just a sleek looking thing from the back. Now, I'm guessing one of the compromises you're going to have with the Sportback shape is a slight reduction in practicality, but to be frank, not by a great deal. It's a good, healthy sized boot. You can drop the seats, they split in 3 different ways. You could probably remove the parcel shelf if you really needed to get big stuff in and out. You've got a space saver wheel. Wow, look, an actual tyre in there. Impressive stuff. That's really quite a funky looking space saver as well. So yeah, it's a practical boot. Now, sadly, I don't have any dogs with me or a bike with me to test just how much stuff I can get in here, but I think it would be all right. Question is, how much rear passenger room is there? Does that roofline compromise this car at all? Well, there's only one way to find out. As with all my normal tests, I do like to jump in the back of the car, and actually, it's not too bad. Now, you've got to remember, this isn't a full-size SUV, so I'm not expecting limousine levels of legroom, but it's not bad at all. And as I always say, this seat is a long way back because I have really long legs. But it is a pretty comfy place in here. You've got lots of niceties that you can drop down to make your journey just that little bit more comfortable. One of the options I would spec in here, it doesn't have a pan roof. It's a bit dark, but that is lightened up by this nice trim, this kind of mix of leather and a kind of sort of suede Alcantara. It's very nice actually. So yeah, inside here is really nice. Very big transmission tunnel in the middle, so I wouldn't want to try and sit on the middle seat. I guess you can, there are 3 seat belts, but really for me, this is 2 seats. But the most important thing is actually from a headroom point of view, it's not compromised in here at all. It's pretty good. Let's have a jump in the front. It's a really nice layout in the front of this thing. Oh. Now then, this is the 45 TFSI S-Line Quattro. So with it being the S-Line trim, It's a very well appointed cabin. You get these lovely seats with the S logo in them. They look really nice and they are very comfortable. I haven't sat in them for a massive amount of time, but they give me a lot of confidence that a long journey would be a comfy place. Nice steering wheel. It's very Audi fare in here, to be honest. There's a nice choice of materials, nice brushed aluminium here. Gripes instantly, that screen for me, and I've said this so many times, it's just a bit garish and sticky outy. Integrate it into the dash and I think it would look an awful lot nicer. However, there are quite a lot of proper buttons in here, which is really nice. All of my climate control is done with normal buttons, and then underneath here things like drive select and other options in there. So that's really smart. Center console's nice, bit of piano black. In here we've got a completely pointless, and that's not particularly great storage, but I guess you can put coins, maybe put your key in there or something, got a pen down here. There's no real smartphone storage. In here I've got a little tray, and I guess I could put my smartphone in there or in there. But in this particular model, there's no kind of wireless charge mat. It does have, however, a proper gear changer, just like the one I used to have in my S4. Really, really like those, and you can kind of knock them over, go onto the paddles, engage with the drive. So all in all, interior-wise, it's really nice. It's nothing spectacularly new. I think if you're a regular Audi buyer and you kind of like the general layout of an Audi cabin, this car's going to be right up your street. I think you're going to like it. If you're wanting something new and edgy, like I saw recently in the e-tron GT or in one of the e-tron products, that's not really what you're getting here. For me, this car is a really good family car, and I like it. I like it a lot. Now then, I think I've escaped doing that bit of walk round before the rain comes, but let's set some cameras up, take the car for a drive. I want to explain a little bit more about some of the options that you've got with the new Q5, and most importantly, what is it like to drive? This one's got quite a good amount of poke, and it certainly goes. So let's go out for a drive, shall we? I think we shall start off by driving through a pretty Cotswold village, as we are in the Cotswolds, one of my favourite parts of the world. It's so beautiful around here. Now, I have been given a circular press route to drive. Oh, look at that, that's rather nice, Clubman. Yeah, I've been given a circular press route to drive, which I have completely ignored. So I'm just going to go out and mooch around and find my own way and just get to grips with this car. It's so difficult when you only have a car for such a short period of time. All in all, I've got 2 to 2.5 hours worth of time with this car. So, you know, to get all the filming done and to get an appreciation of it is a bit of a trick. However, the things helping me in doing that and getting to grips with the car quickly is, first up, it's a super familiar place to be. I'm not going to do a great deal about the MMI and the kind of interface with that, because it's just like any other Audi. It's like the S4 I had before. The standout feature, and I still think Audi are one of the best sat-nav integrators, you know, with their Google Maps integration with virtual cockpit, the way you can change the view to have big dials on a little map or little dials on a big map. I've always liked that, right since the first time we saw it back in TT was the first car to have that, and I still think it's brilliant. The main screen there, I'm not a big fan of the way it sticks up out of the dash, but in terms of navigating it and going through all the different menus, it is super easy to do that, especially while you're kind of sat in a bit of traffic while someone's backing up. So yeah, you can get in and out of stuff really easily. The drive select program, you can go through the different modes. So in this car I've got efficiency, comfort, auto, dynamic and individual. I think for this test I'm going to stick it into the dynamic mode. However, individual, because this isn't an S or RS model, I've only got the ability to change the drive system between efficient, balanced and dynamic, or steering between comfort, balanced and dynamic. So I've got no option to change the firmness of the suspension or exhaust tone and that kind of thing, which you'd expect in an S or an RS model. Now, in terms of engine and power, this car has 45 written on the back of it. That doesn't mean to say it's a 4.5 litre or anything to do with that. It's the most unintelligible way of categorizing cars of any auto manufacturer. Sorry Audi, but I've never got it from day one, and I still don't really get it. I'll put a little visual over that I made a couple of years ago. Basically the number represents how much horsepower, and the reason Audi did it was because, especially with hybrids and electrics coming in, really when you quote electrics you should be quoting kilowatts, not horsepower. So they have these categorized groups of cars from, I think it's as low down as 30 all the way up to sort of 45, 50, 55. And that just tells you what category the horsepower of the engine is in. I think it could be done much more easily than that, if I'm honest. But this car then, it does have some go. It's got a nice amount of performance. It's not a sports car by any means, but for me, if you have a bigger car like this, you do need to opt for the biggest engine size you can afford, with that balance of purchase price and fuel economy. And I think this is quite nice. It sits there really nicely. It's a very quiet, smooth ride. The suspension and the slightly higher sidewall and the sportier variants soak up the bumps really nicely. There's not a great deal of wind noise. I guess that's helped by the aerodynamic shape of that kind of lovely coupe form at the back of the car. And it, when you start to push on down a nice road like this, it's a really pleasant place to be.
Prices for the new Q5 Sportback start at £39,500 and go all the way up to £70,000. The car on test today starts at £47,900 and is presented in Navara Blue, one of my favourite Audi colours, but that is a £675 option, and has rotor grey leather and Alcantara upholstery. Big ticket items added in the options list on this car are the Matrix LED headlamps and the comfort and sound pack and wheel upgrade, meaning all in, the on-the-road price of this test car is £55,235.
This car does have 265 PS, so it would be rude not to just drop it into sport, and a little bit lazy on pickup, but actually it's got some pace. It really has. It doesn't make a noise at all, so it's quite difficult to feel engaged and feel like you're going quickly. It's one of these cars that covers the ground very fast without actually making you feel like you're doing that. It's so smooth. That for me is the overriding feeling I'm getting in this car, is smooth and competent. And certainly a car, I think, that you could cover a lot of ground in. You could do a long journey in and get to the other end and not feel tired. But when you are on a nice long sweeping corner like this, it's got really good road manners. I really like it. As I said, I've only driven the SQ5 before, and that was a few years ago now, and I have to say that car, it was a quick car. So I think for me, I would be tempted by the SQ5, and when you get up to SQ5 territory, you are really going toe to toe with something like a Porsche Macan, from a performance point of view and a size and practicality point of view, and you're probably paying quite a bit less than a Porsche Macan as well. Yeah, I like this. It's good. Now let's talk about the different engine options that we've got with this new Q5.
In the UK, there are currently two engine choices available in the Q5 Sportback: a 204 horsepower 2-litre TDI in the 40 TDI Quattro, and then the engine fitted to this test car, the 265 horsepower 2-litre TFSI Petrol in the 45 TFSI Quattro. There'll be a 341 horsepower SQ5 Sportback TDI, yes, that's a diesel, and then a 50 Sportback TFSI E and 55 TFSI E plug-in hybrid version, delivering up to 367 horsepower and up to 38 miles of EV-only driving. All of these models will be available in Sport, S-Line, Edition 1 and Vorsprung trim.
I think we need to try these paddles out. Knock it over to the left, down a couple of cogs. Right, revs quite nicely out, sort of 6.5, just come up to 7,000 RPM on the brakes. Oh, look at this little switchback. Nice. Oh, do you know what? Actually, it's got really good cornering manners. Good brakes. Down another cog. Down into third. Well, I have to say, that's just surprised the hell out of me. Very good. Very good. Now, it's got quite a lot of weight to it, this car. So when you're doing kind of weight transfer from left to right like that, you do feel it. It is quite a cumbersome car, but it's still good fun. And I think, top tip, for some reason, if you're just in the sport box, I used to love driving my S4 just in the sport box. It always felt really intuitive. This though, you knock it down into the manual box, and the gear changes are pretty slick, pretty crisp, and it just makes the car come alive a little bit more. I've had a couple of hesitations in the sport mode, auto changing. So yeah, just knock it into the manual box and swap the cogs yourself. This car's great fun. Do you know what? I could drive this car all day. It's brilliant. I really, really like it. There are a few things that gripe me. I do bemoan the lack of an exhaust pipe sticking out the back of the car. I don't get why you don't have them. I don't know, it just doesn't look right with the trim, you know. Especially in the days where you've got electric cars, you probably want to differentiate the car a little bit by saying, this is not an electric car, people, it's got an exhaust pipe sticking out the back of it. So I would like a bit of an exhaust pipe, maybe 4. I guess that will be safe for the S model. I don't like this, the sticky uppy sat-nav screen. I just don't know why it can't just be integrated, or at least at the push of a button. I know in some previous Audi models you've been able to retract it into the dash. But it's just lazy for me. I know it's big and it's a trend that we see in lots of EVs like Mustang Mach-E and Model 3s and stuff, but you know, do something more aesthetically pleasing with it than that. On the whole, the layout of the cabin's very good. Good amount of space in the back, good amount of boot room. I'd love to test it by trying to put a bike in the back or something. But on the whole, it's a good, impressive car. And I think, you know, this is such a competitive segment, this compact SUV thing. And I know there'll be many of you will either want a kind of, you know, an estate format car, or a really big SUV like, I don't know, I guess like the Q7. And don't kind of see what this mid-range one is, but the numbers that are sold tell a different story. These are a popular format of car, and I get it, because you get the family practicality, a big boot for stuff, room in the back for the kids, and yet the slightly smaller size just gives you a car that's more fun to drive at the weekend. And yeah, I kind of get that. So yeah, I like it a lot. Is it a car for me? No, I don't think so. Even if I wanted a car with more practicality, I'd still go and buy another S4. I think that kind of estate format for me personally just works a little bit better. I think these SUVs and that kind of thing just not for me. But I know Audi are going to sell a lot of these. Anyway, massive thanks to Audi for inviting me to the Cotswolds today. It's so beautiful to come up here and drive on these beautiful roads. It's a beautiful part of the world. But I hope you enjoyed that one. Let me know, what do you think of the new Q5? Put it in the comments below. But if you've enjoyed that one, please give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol for plenty more content to come. And I'll see you on the next film, guys. You take care.